Let's read the review of the week from Jay Barshop. Chris and his guests provide some incredibly actionable and compelling content, spotlighting the best tactics and insights on how to become the very best version of yourself and live a more productive, well-rounded life. Highly recommend listening and subscribing to becoming your greatest possible self and checking out Burn It Up Coaching. And I added that. If you want the knowledge and mindsets to grow into the person you know you're capable of becoming and reach your overall goals as a result. Jay, thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate you, and go ahead and leave your review for iTunes so that you can get shouted out on the next marathon all day long. That's right, we celebrate one person all day long, same testimonial. So thank you so much, Jay. And now for the woman of the hour, who is absolutely shining her light in the world. Natasha is the founder of Soundwise, the world's first audio publishing platform that gives podcasters detailed knowledge about their subscribers and the ability to reach out to their audience in multiple ways. Natasha is also a personal growth teacher and a contributor to Huffington Post and Entrepreneur. She holds a PhD in economics from Georgetown University, and she's going to rock the house today. Natasha, you ready to rock this?
Yes, Chris, I'm so ready.
Yes, me too.
Yay!
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. We appreciate you coming on to share your wisdom, your experience, your journey with our audience today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for doing this.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a service to humanity, and I'm honored to be on today.
Thank you, Natasha. So let's dive right into the question of the day, which is based on the theme of the day, and that is the art of being. So, Natasha, how do you relate to this concept of being as an art? It's an art form of being. How are you being? Who are you being? How do you relate to that?
That's such a good question. And a lot of times what I tell my students is, we are complex human beings, so wired in, all sorts of different ways. But in general, each one of us, we have these two parts. And one part is the human part, where we identify with this human self, this ego. I identify with Natasha Che, and you identify with Chris Burns.
Right.
So, but we also have this other part, which is our higher self that identify with the, super consciousness, with God, with the spirit, whatever you call it. Mm-hmm. And to me, the art of being is really the art of how these two parts can work together so that you can create a beautiful life on this earth and also impacting a lot of people in a positive way. If these two parts work together harmoniously, then you will be able to, have your 2 feet grounded firmly on the earth, but also reach for the heavens and inspire yourself and other people.
That's incredible.
So that is the art of being for me.
That is deep. You already shared a little bit about this, and again, it's deep. That is so just so awesome. Natasha, you are a very deep person, and it's interesting because you're also technologically savvy, and you also have the spiritual aspect of things as well. So why don't we share a little bit more about Soundwise and what you're creating today, because you're creating an amazing platform, and just who you are being for the world is absolutely inspiring. So go ahead and share with our audience.
Yeah, totally. So I'm the founder of Soundwise, and we are an audio publishing platform. And we are a very special one because our calling is really to help heart-centered change makers to build their tribe and also amplify their impact in the world through audio. So, a lot of people, when you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business, sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, I wish I know how to position my business and who my ideal customer is. I need to get more clear on that." But the thing is, when you find your callings, you pretty much find your unique value proposition as well, because part of your calling is who are you serving, right? That's unique to you. When you find that, you pretty much, you got downloaded your business proposition from the source as well. So notice what I just said, Soundwise is calling to help heart-centered change makers to make changes through audio. And that is really, my vision for the organization. And that came from my calling as well.
Wow. So let's dive back, because you're helping these heart-centered change makers to get their voice out. And I love that you are creating this platform. It's super innovative. You mentioned that you coded it yourself, and I'm sure we'll dive into that. And you're just like a pioneer, like hardcore pioneer. And I also have this pioneering aspect of the 12-hour marathon, where I love helping heart-centered people who have a message, worthy messages, to get out to the world and inspire people and make a difference. So I love that we relate in that aspect. And I know I'm curious, and the audience is curious as well, about your journey. How did you get to where you are today, to where it's a commitment of yours, it's your life calling to be able to help these heart-centered entrepreneurs get their message out? What was that journey like? What were some of the challenges that you had to overcome to get to where we are today?
Okay, so because this call is about callings, so what I'm going to share with you and also your audience is actually, I discovered a 5-step system to finding your callings as quickly as humanly possible, but not quicker, because I will tell you quicker is not always a good thing. And I will tell you why in a minute. And I will share these steps partly using myself as an example so that, listeners can also understand it better. So let's dive right in, and I can tell you first, let's start with where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So, growing up, I was, always the goody two shoes kind of girl. I got good grades. I was a model student. I know, totally opposite to you. Because we shared a little bit of your story yesterday on my platform. So my idea of achievement was always, follow the rules and, do well in school. And that's why I got a PhD, because obviously, if you're going to do school, might as well do it all the way.
That's what you're supposed to do, right? Anything else is unacceptable.
Yeah, totally. That's the definition of success. So after I graduated, I got a 6-figure job in Washington, D.C. in the public policy world. And it was a prestigious job. It was comfortable. It was stable, So from the outside, it was really, I got everything I needed as a, young, in my early 30s, living life comfortably. But I always had a sense that I wasn't living life as it was meant to be, I wish I were the only person feeling that way. But, I know there are a lot of people out there who feel the same.
Totally.
But, I felt like I was meant to have a higher impact, and I was meant to change people's lives in bigger ways than my 9-to-6 job. But I didn't know what I was supposed to do. That's the calling thing. I tried to figure out, okay, what is the thing that I was put on this earth to do. So I tried a lot of things to try to figure this out. I went to shamans and psychics. I did ayahuasca. Wow. I did psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, because I thought, well, if this thing is coming from some deeper source and it's not obviously not coming up in my conscious mind, must be buried somewhere in my subconscious, right? So I tried all that. No dice. I was still really antsy and really confused. And that's really how you feel when you're not living your calling. It's what I tell people is it's like an itch that you can't scratch.
Yep.
It's there, but you cannot identify where it is. And it's super uncomfortable living life that way.
Yep.
But then, about 2 years ago, this dissatisfaction just suddenly started to grow stronger. The voice is getting louder. And finally, I remember just one Saturday morning, I was sitting there having breakfast, and I suddenly got this notion. It's almost like a voice, not vocal, but, voice, you got this impression. It says, it's time. It's time. And it says, well, you need to leave your job. And my immediate reaction was, excuse me? I mean, I didn't have a plan. It's not like I was working on something on the side, right? I had no plan. It was almost like, oh, someday I'm going to do something, but I don't know what that thing is. Just put it off to forever. But so I had no plan. But, the next Monday, I went into the office and I told my boss, I need to leave. And I did. And the next day morning, I woke up in a massive panic attack. And it's like, what did you just do? Natasha Che, you are crazy. This is so irresponsible, right? Because I was always the responsible person, responsible child. And I had no plan. And for a whole week, I was running in circles, just, panicky and didn't know what to do and not sure. It's just like my logical mind was like, this is stupid. This is so stupid. And so, but the week after, I calmed down a little bit and I started thinking, okay, so what was the immediate next thing I can do? So that's a tip for people, okay? When you're confused, ask yourself, just, what's the immediate next action you can do, you can take to get you maybe an inch closer to where you want to go? Just, and when you get an answer, just do that. Just don't question it. Go do that. Because you cannot, and someone once said, I forgot whom, which really struck me as the God cannot course correct when you're standing still. So, so taking action really helps. Wow. So then my thinking at the time is, well, I know that I wanted to create things. I knew I was a creator of some sort. So I thought, what kind of skill will help me to create more things, to create a lot of useful things? And also I'm practical. So I want to create things that help people in a practical way, not just like artsy in an aesthetic way. Right. So I thought, I'm going to learn how to computer program. I'm going to learn how to code so that I can make all sorts of things. I can make apps and websites and do whatever I want, right? Even though I had no clue what I want. So I ended up spent 6 months learning to code. And it's really, I spent 13, 14 hours a day sitting in front of my computer coding. And that's another tip I tell people. If you want to get a project done, make a concentrated effort, right? So it's like, I acquired a new skill in a few months, and I cannot imagine doing it if I just do it on the side in bits and pieces. Right. Sometimes you really got to focus if you have a big, hairy project that you want to take on. Yep. So I spent 6 months doing that. And also some people, some listeners may be thinking, okay, where is she going with this? But I promise you, there's a point. Okay. There's a point. So I started, and at the same time, I was coding and I started a podcast. Why? Just because I had nothing better to do. Seriously, because I felt inspired one day. I felt excited about it. Wow. And here's another tip. Follow your excitement. It will not lead you awry. Wow. If you don't know what to do, follow your excitement. That is a big hint, big shout out from your higher self, from God, about your next step.
Coming through Natasha right now.
So I started podcasting. Well, I can tell you the reason. Well, part of the reason why is I've always been an audio fan. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I had a sort of a quarter life crisis, if you will. I was like losing directions and getting like a light depression. And I started listening to all these at the time. It was CDs and MP3 downloads of all sorts of teachers and spiritual gurus and coaches talking about, stuff.
So that's how you're so enlightened. It's been compressing for decades.
but that's how I spent my early 20s. So I always had an affinity with the audios, and I know this power with audio to transform people's life because it's such an intimate medium. People listen to you in their ears, right? Right there, and you can become their constant companion, and your message is always with them, especially these days. Everybody's on their phone, people can listen from their phone, and it's an intimate connection.
You never know who you impact either. The people who inspired you and gave you your message, the gurus, the teachers, the personal development motivational speakers, like, they have no idea that they impacted you, but they were doing the work. Same thing with us when we're doing our podcasting, when you're creating Soundwise, like, we have no idea, like, all the different people that we're impacting, but it's like just every action creates such a ripple effect. It's amazing.
Yeah, with Soundwise, you actually have a clear idea, but we will get to that later.
We'll get there.
But so I started this podcast and started interviewing really, entrepreneurs and people doing cool things in my community, which is where I live in Washington, D.C. And 5 months later, I never thought this would happen, but my podcast was voted one of the best podcasts in the greater Washington area.
Wow.
So that's the power of doing something that you felt excited about, though, I didn't know why.
How long from when you started it to when it got
5 months?
Wow.
5 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, as I get more audience, I started to get increasingly frustrated with podcasting, actually, because when I can see the download numbers increasing, but it made me realize I'm missing so many precious opportunities to actually build a real community, because I don't know who those people are. I don't know who are downloading. Yeah. That's the thing, is podcasting is like, it's still follow the traditional broadcast radio model. You put your sound out there, and you don't know who get it and who don't get it. Right. But these days, but my desire is, if you want to impact people's lives, you need to have like deeper connections, right? I need to be able to get hold of people. I need to know who my people are so that I can take them to the next level.
Totally.
Right. And and not just to give them information, but really help people to really transform and change, and not just on the surface level. So, but I wasn't able to do that with the existing podcasting platforms. And at that time, I also started building something audio related, but I always tell people I'm working on the thing. I didn't know what the thing is, but it's audio related. It's something you can publish, like short form audios. And the cool thing is everything is tracked on this, the thing that I was building. So, but I didn't have a clear idea of what the thing was. So I was just okay, maybe do this, that. It's kind of murky. And then one day I suddenly had a revelation that, okay, I'm doing the podcast. I'm frustrated with podcasting because I cannot capture my audience. And on the other hand, I'm building this thing that does capture audience, but it wasn't for podcasting. I was like, how stupid are you, Natasha? Just put the two things together. Wow. So I tweaked the platform to make it be able to, actually host the RSS feed, and actually people can do podcasting with it.
Yes.
So I just built this thing, coded in the tech world, people call it the minimum viable product. It's really, something like crappy thing that, but barely functional, but carries the vision, bare bone vision. So I went to this local podcasting event, and I printed out a bunch of business cards. I went to this event and I told people, hey, I have this thing. Do you want to try using it? And I thought, okay, because I had to get a word out some way, right? Totally. So I went to the event, but I didn't think that would, anybody would actually want it. But, my business cards got snatched up in 20 minutes. Wow. And everybody's like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, I was thinking about the same thing with my podcast. So I started build out a little bit more, and I started a second podcast, and this time for, really my work in personal coaching and in spirituality. I talked a lot about spiritual transformation. So I started a second podcast from Soundwise, and you can find it on iTunes, but in other places. But when I'm promoting it, I tell people to subscribe on Soundwise because then I can, keep my listeners close because I can know who they are and I can track them.
Right.
And also I can have conversations with people and, through messages and know more about them. And then gradually, I realized, I get asked, some episodes get asked a lot of questions. People like comment and tell me, follow-up questions and things they got from it and things they haven't got from it. So, and I realized, okay, I was repeating the same answers in these episodes. Then I thought, okay, if I just record these answers together, I can make it into an audio course.
That's right.
So that's the other tip, like for people who are like creating their first product, maybe it's educational product. And I tell people, just think about what do people always ask you about? Write down those questions and give your answers, and then you have a product.
Wow.
So basically, so I thought, this seems like an idea. Again, this is something I felt excited about, but I didn't know, right? Maybe I was crazy. So I look at my list of subscribers for my podcast, and I picked top 100 listeners for my podcast on Soundwise, and I emailed them. I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this course on such and such. Would you be interested in, buying this course? And a lot of them say yes.
Wow.
and the thing is, and also when you email your most active listeners, your email open rate is almost 100%. And so it's really more targeted marketing. And then eventually I got a course. It's also, available on Soundwise, and my podcast listeners can see the paid course while they're listening to my podcast.
Wow.
And now 10% of my podcast subscribers also bought my audio course.
Wow.
So it's been, such a amazing journey. And just to, circle back to what our title for this episode is to, find your calling. And really, there are, several things that I learned from my own journey. Is first of all, this calling really comes from a higher source. And it can be internal. It can be, people call it higher self. To me, it's higher self. And people call it soul. People call it, gut feelings, intuition. Or it can be external if it's in your belief system. It can be the universe, it can be the spirit, it can be God, or it can be your angels, your guardians, your deceased grandma, whoever is outside some higher source other than your limited human identity, right? Yeah. And the second thing is, what I realized is it really reveals itself when you are ready. And what do I mean by being ready is it's something I call your expansion level. It's really how big of a presence you're willing to take on this planet Earth, and the level of fulfillment you're comfortable with, and the level of impact you're comfortable with making, because all of those things are scary, very, very scary to your human self. Yeah. And also the level of actions you're willing to take to match that level of expansion. And most of us, we just don't think it's possible. As long as you have a human self, you have that part, which I recommend you do have if you live on planet Earth. But as long as we have that part, it's always there's a part of us that plays small, that wants to play small, right? Yeah. And there is a lot of fear involved about expansion. But what I mean by being ready is that fear is kind of contained to a reasonable level, so that when you get that information about your calling and you are propelled to take action, you won't be like paralyzed by fear. It won't be disruptive. It won't be destructive. So when you're not ready, and you get that information, it's really not useful to you. It's only going to disrupt your life, and that's not good for everybody, for anybody. So it's really, that that calling is going to reveal itself when you are ready. And it may not reveal itself all at once. In my case, you heard me talking about this long-winded, back and forth and going through all kinds of rabbit holes and get to where I am. It's really every part of this is a part of, stepping into a higher expansion level and getting more ready so that your calling can reveal it more, depending on how ready you are.
And you mentioned earlier about going too fast, right? Like there's a chance that we could go too fast. Was that about your story? Like you mentioned, so let's say I want to go as fast as possible, right? In my mind, I say I want to go as fast as possible, but then there's like certain actions, behaviors, paradigms, stuff that keeps me stuck. What do I do to like really accelerate myself? And is there such thing as going too fast? So the concept of going too fast is very useful because it makes you realize you're always actually going at the perfect pace. Yes.
So that you can stress out less because, if you know that when you know that you are ready, it will reveal itself. To the extent that you're ready, you know that it's always perfect. But to answer your first question, there is a way that you can, get out of your own way, so to speak. And that's, the 5 steps that I tell people, how to discover your calling fast.
Cool.
And the 5 steps, I'm going to explain this, but I first tell you what it is. First is increase trust. Second, reduce risk. Third, ask for clarity. Fourth, take action. 5, iterate. And I'll explain what this is. Okay. Now, the first step is increase trust. This is to increase your trust level in your higher source, whatever that is. And it's like any relationship. The trust builds over time. It's not like you go on a first day and you suddenly trust this person 100%. And it's the same thing with your higher source, and you build that trust. This trust is like a muscle. It's like going to the gym, right? So I know you go to the gym, you exercise. Now, Chris, you have so much stamina. You can do 12 hours straight talk. So, but you cannot do that on day one, right? You have to build that muscle. And also, yeah, exactly. So that is muscle you need to build, that trust muscle with your higher source. And you build that by taking on smaller risks, right? You go to the gym, the first day you work on 3 pounds. Next month you work on 5 pounds, right? It goes step by step. And for me, if I hadn't been like consciously, deliberately building that trust with my higher source over the years, I wouldn't have been able to make that step to actually listen to it, to say, okay, it's time. You have no backup plan, but do this.
Is there a way that we can invite or attract the opportunities to gain the trust even more? Like, how do we accelerate that trust building process?
Yeah, totally. What I tell people, a very simple thing you can do is now, as you're listening to this, unless you're driving, of course you can. But if you're at a place where you can sit down and, be yourself, take pen and paper and write down a list of 50 things. 50 things. What kind of things? 50 things that you always feel like compelled to do, but there's no logical reason behind. And at the back of my mind, you think you're crazy for even thinking that. So write down 50 things like that. It can be big things, can be small things. Big things can be, you're going to move to Africa for no reason, but you just want to do that.
Yeah.
Small things, I don't know. You want to have ice cream for breakfast. So write those 50 things down, okay? And then you rank them. Rank them according to the scale of craziness. So start with the lowest scale, like a small action you can take, like ice cream for breakfast is probably on the lower end of craziness.
Right.
So, and actually, when you rank these things, actually make a conscious effort to actually do them. Pick one thing, maybe a week, and start small. Maybe tomorrow, do have ice cream for breakfast, and don't worry about cholesterol. Just for one day. For one day. So because you will find that all these things, all these crazy feelings, things you feel compelled to do, but you don't have a logical reason behind, and that's holding you back. All of those things, when you do enough of them, you realize there's something in common. And when you get those things, you get this familiar feeling, you know what it is. Wow. So you actually train yourself to get this feeling of alignment more and more through taking small actions, smaller risks that seem crazy, just a little bit crazy. So that's how you increase the trust, and that's step one. And step two is de-risk, reduce risk, and this is really, really important. And that really was my aha. In the process of building Soundwise, because there can be bad things that happen when you learn your calling from your higher source and take action, right? These bad, like negative things, you can lose your income, you don't have a paycheck anymore, you have to relocate, you have to work super hard for a period, maybe you lose friends who no longer understand you, maybe you lose loved ones, maybe you lose esteem, you lose whatever, a lot of things to lose.
Yep. Yeah.
So I definitely, I lost a paycheck. That's the consequence of taking up on my calling. So these are the things that all your human selves fear will happen if you take on that calling, and that fear that make you less ready, right? You have more fear, and then you can be ready because it's gonna paralyze you. So that's the thing is, if you write down here. So here's assignment: write down a list of things that bad things that could happen. Okay. If you take on your calling, if your calling is revealed to you and it turned out it's something that I feel like super compelled you have to do, and that just destroys, creates chaos in your life. Right. And then you write, what are the minimum conditions that need to be met for you to follow your calling? So really, we're de-risk. That's what I call it, the de-risk your calling, because you're really negotiating with your higher self here, right? Because calling is, we are talking, if we, from the perspective, the good old Maslow hierarchy of needs, we have these lower needs like food and shelter, survival. We have higher needs of realization, self-actualization. So calling is a higher needs, right? But it doesn't mean that in order to get a higher need, you don't need to take care of your lower needs. So this negotiation, if you get this clarity about what you are willing to take on, the conditions that you are willing to accept, minimum, in order for you to follow your calling, you de-risk this, you make this less scary, right? Beautiful. So for me, it was a few things I wrote down was, I need to have customers. Yeah, I need to have customers who pay so that I can make a living, right? I need to be able to build a product that's actually valuable to enough people. Yeah. And also, I need to have, at least a group of people who understand what I'm doing. Yeah. Right? A lot of people, they won't understand, but at least some people understand, so I feel better. Yeah. And also, I need to feel good about what I'm doing. Yeah. So all those things. And you need to, what I recommend is you set a timeline. You set a time frame. How long because there can be a transition period when these conditions may not be met, right? As you work towards making your dream come true. But how long are you willing to pursue your calling? And as long as by the end of that period, these conditions are met, then you're okay. So for me, it was 5 years. Wow. Yeah. So when you get down to that nitty-gritty level, you de-risk the whole thing. It sounds less romantic, but it's more doable. Makes it more doable.
Yeah. Reduces the barriers in your mind, the exaggeration that might happen because you already calculated out what you are and aren't willing to tolerate. Yeah, totally. And so and also super important. Are you willing to say no? This is something I got, really aha moment I got from a coach, an amazing coach. His name is Tim Kelly. And he said, well, are you willing to say no to your calling if these conditions are not met? Wow. And you have to be willing to say no. Wow.
if these conditions are not met, because that's you again, we are negotiating with your higher self. Right? We live on earth. You need to live.
Right.
And to me, it was hard because I was like, oh, I'm going to go for my callings no matter what, right? So that's what people usually tell you. No matter what, just make it happen. But the thing is, if that really feels so scary, makes things feel so risky to your human self, then it make it harder for your calling to reveal itself.
Wow. That's crazy. It's like by setting the limitations on what you will or won't tolerate, you actually bring your calling to fruition even faster.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. Yes, because, we live on earth. We do some earth rules. We do some heaven rules. These two need to work together, right?
Totally.
To create the art of being. So
That's awesome.
So I can't tell you how amazing this is because, at one point, last year, at some point, we had about 1,000 users on Soundwise at that point. But those are like free users. Nobody was paying us, right? And it sucks because these users are not very committed. They use it like bits and pieces because we did have a free plan at the time. Right. So it sucks. And I was feeling kind of stuck. I was like, what can I do? How can I get more clarity? I didn't know how to move this thing forward. So that's when I got this download about, you need to negotiate with your calling and you need to get clear on what this is, right? What are you willing to accept? This is not some kind of super romantic, idealistic thing, right? It's all part of human life. So then I decided, okay, so if I set out my conditions and I said, these are conditions that need to be met. And this is my time frame. If I cannot meet these time frame, I will need to go do something else, including go back to a job, go get a paycheck, do the normal human thing, whatever I need to do. Right. So that was like a very sobering moment for me. But it was also a grown-up moment, right? Getting clarity on the thing. And it was actually very empowering. Wow. And here's the beauty of this, okay? And then almost right away, I got this piece of download that because at first Soundwise, we are catering to every podcaster out there. I got this piece of download that no, Soundwise is not for any podcasters. It's really best. You are serving people who use audio to transform lives and make an impact in the world. Those are the group of people that you are meant to serve. Yes. You see, that's like when I get additional clarity, when I up my readiness level, I got more clarity about my calling. It got nailed down even further. And here's the crazy thing, even crazier. Before I did anything about this new revelation, before I did any like a branding change, copywriting or outreach to anybody, we started having paying users from this group of ideal customers that I just downloaded. So that's the power of getting clarity on something.
So you reduced your risk, then you got the download, and then without changing anything. So this is like within a period of couple weeks or something like that. Like you started getting more.
It was within a month.
Yeah.
Wow. So that it really that's the power of clarity. Dang. That has its own that gets things moving in its own way.
Yeah. Wow. So first is increased trust. Second is reduced risk. What's 3?
3 is, ask for clarity.
Good.
Ask your higher self for clarity.
Good.
But the clarity only comes when you're ready. So when you're not ready, clarity not coming. So with people tell me, I asked my higher self, and the clarity not coming. And I said, well, that means you're not ready. Get more ready, So, a lot of times I go for a walk. And I write a lot. So I write down conversations. So you can actually, write down, ask, put your name down and ask, what is my calling?
Yeah.
And on the next line, write down the answers from your, higher source, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And
it's like
when I write.
Go ahead.
Yeah. When I write down, like, what's my calling? The answer I got is to transform lives. And then I said, well, can you be more specific? Whose lives?
Yeah.
Then I got, change makers, light beings, these people who are making an impact in the world and they need to create this transformation in people, but they need to gather a tribe, and you can do this through audio.
Beautiful. And then what I was going to say is simply the act of doing the journaling and writing, the actions is saying, I'm freaking ready. Like, I'm committed to this process. Give me the answer. I'm willing to break through whatever BS I got to and get uncomfortable and, like, I don't want to say sacrifice, but give up other things that I could be doing, like drinking wine or partying or watching movies or whatever, to create the clarity. That's how ready I am for this message to come through to me.
Yes, totally. And also what you said so beautifully, because it's also related to step 4. And step 4 is to take action. Take action no matter how much clarity you have. You're not going to have 100% clarity. Right. You've got to take the next step.
Yeah.
So if your higher source is not coming through, it's not giving you any more message, then ask, okay, what's the next thing I need to do to at least move me closer to my calling? And so when you get that message, really, go do that. A lot of times you're not going to get, most people, we all have doubts. Because we have a logical mind, and that is a good thing. Please don't get rid of that. But that means you're going to have doubts. You're like, okay, is this a trusted source? Is this a higher source, or is it just a mind chatter? It's just my crazy mind. You will have those thoughts, but I would say do it anyway. Do it anyway. Again, that's the muscle building, right? That's the muscle building. While you're lifting that 3-pound weight, you're like, is this really working? I'm not building any muscle. It's not going anywhere. Well, it is actually. Yes.
Awesome. And what's number 5, Natasha?
Number 5 is iterate. Really, we talked the 4 steps, increase trust, reduce risk. Ask for clarity and take action. You can always do more of those, more of them. It's like an onion peeling itself. You can always go deeper, create more trust, have a better relationship with your higher source, and de-risk more so that you can really march forward more fearlessly and take more action. So really iterate, and it changes, it evolves, it grows as you grow. So that is really the 5 steps to get to your calling the fastest way. And especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking of your business offerings, that's also, a great framework to directly get your business offering from the source. Yes. I'm all for scientific methods. You can take all the customer surveys you want. You can ask, hey, what's your biggest problem? Ask your customers, ask people what you can do to help them. But the thing is, a lot of times you are serving a need that people don't know they have, right? Before Facebook was built, nobody has a need for Facebook. So there is this innate need. And a lot of times that you download that from the source.
Right.
So that's not something that you are going to get from your customer's mouth.
Right. Yeah, no, that's true. And, for example, today I was talking to a guy talking about Ultimate Guides. It was Bajik, and he was talking about Ultimate Guides. I was like, I want to make my show better, this 12-hour marathon better. I'm sure there's a ton of people who want to make their podcast better, convert more, keep people around more. And I'm like, why don't I write an Ultimate Guide for having a kick-ass show, Like, I'm sure that there's probably people who've done similar things, but maybe not an ultimate guide. And so I thought to myself, well, I want to do it. I want to know. I want this data to create an effective show and a kick-ass show. So why would I not do it? If it fulfills me, if it moves me forward, and I can share that information with my audience and people who also want to know the same stuff, and influencers, people who want to get their message out, it's a no-brainer,
Oh, yeah. And I bet you felt excited about it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good sign.
Yes. Yeah, now it's like action. Go do it.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. So, Natasha, this has been amazing. We're beginning to wrap up, and we want to know, is there anything else we need to know about discovering our calling, finding our calling, nurturing it, and living that into existence?
Yeah, totally. So it's really, this is finding your calling. It's not like a one-step thing. It's not like, you got this direct words from God and you're all set. It's a discovery, right? So be patient with yourself and know that you're always moving at the right pace. And that has been a lesson that I needed to learn, even with Soundwise, because I'm Aries. I always want to move faster. And but I always need to remind myself, be patient. There is a reason that things are the way it is, even if you don't know that immediate reason. Do things that you felt compelled to do, even if you don't see a immediate logical reason. Trust that reason will be revealed to you, as it has been for me for thousands of times. So yeah.
So beautiful, Natasha. You are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And how do people stay connected with you? What do we want them to do next? How can they step into the realm of Natasha, evolve themselves spiritually, get involved with Soundwise? There's a lot of cool stuff that you mentioned during this interview. So let us know how we can keep moving forward with you.
Yeah, totally. So as I said, my calling at this stage, really also my company Soundwise, is to help heart-centered change makers, coaches, experts, entrepreneurs to build a tribe and amplify their message, making an impact in the world through audio, because that is really a transformative medium that where you can, talk directly into people's ears and become their constant companions and help them and transform them, and also build your own loyal followings along the way. And so it's really a great way to deliver your message to your target audience. And also, we're talking about the callings. You can ask your trust, like a higher source, is podcasting or doing audio courses a way for me to move forward? Is that a useful way for me to spread my message? And this is, something that you can get directly from your higher source or whatever that is for you. And if the answer is yes, then I would say Soundwise is for you, because on Soundwise, you can, set up both free and paid audios easily, saves ton of time for solo podcasters with our automatic audio processing. You just need to basically push a button and talk. And the program automatically attach your intro, outro, polish your audio, and publish it out into the world for you.
Wow.
And more importantly, it helps you to build a tribe that you own, not the platform owns. So because unlike other platforms, on Soundwise, you know exactly who your individual subscribers are. And you can reach out to them by email and text messages, and they can write back. So, you can building your email list and at the same time have a tangible audience you can get hold of, and exactly whose life you are impacting. Makes it super easy to do more targeted marketing. And also, when you set up paid audio courses for sale on Soundwise, you have a natural customer funnel, because while people are listening to your free content on the app, they can also always see your paid program. So saves a lot of sales speech on your side, and they can buy directly from their phone right there. So from, easy audio publishing to building a audience tribe to making money from your knowledge, Soundwise is a platform to help you to maximize the benefits you and your audience get from your audio content.
Wow.
So if you want to start, getting your message out there with audio, like to anybody who's listening, if you have a transformative message you want to spread, or if you already have a podcast and you want to get the most out of it in terms of audience impact, you can go to mysoundwise.com and sign up there. You can either start a new program from scratch or importing your existing podcast feed. It takes 30 seconds.
Cool.
And our lower tier paid plan annually, it currently is $336.
Cool.
It covers most of the benefits that I talk about. But on this plan, if you sell any audio programs, we do charge 5% of transaction fee. On our higher tier, we do not charge any transaction fee. But here's the thing, okay, Chris,
Yes.
because I really appreciate what you're doing here. I think you're doing such an amazing thing. 12 hours straight. You're really delivering massive value to people, working super hard, just spreading your light all around the world. So, for this is amazing. Become your greatest possible self. So for any of your audience listening right now, if you sign up for our lower tier annual paid plan, I will upgrade you to our higher tier with no extra cost.
Wow.
So that will save you almost $500 a year.
Wow.
And what you need to do is, sign up for the lower tier plan and send an email to support@mysoundwise.com and mention that you heard about us on becoming your greatest possible self. And we will take care of the upgrade for you. And also, for the first 5 people who sign up on a paid plan, if you email us mentioning Chris, I will offer you personally a one-on-one strategy session over the phone to help you discover your calling and figure out what's the right positioning for your audio program, because the two are super related, as we talked about.
Wow.
So that is my offer to Chris, to your audience. First 5 people sign up, you get my one-on-one strategy session as well.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Natasha, thank you so much. Everyone, you heard it. When you get that lower tier program, you will get upgraded to the higher tier program because you came from becoming your greatest possible self. So just send Natasha an email, and that's support@mysoundwise.com, and just let them know that you heard it from becoming your greatest possible self. And also, she mentioned for the first 5 people. So start typing, get to it, go sign up. She'll give you a strategy session so that you can discover your calling. And Natasha, man, you're doing amazing things, and just like who you serve, I'm noticing who you serve, the energy that you're pouring into these people to help them get their message out, and the tools and the platform, the resources that you're giving them is just beyond exceptional and extraordinary. So thank you so much for what you do and for helping people discover their calling, and for going through the work that you did to discover your calling, and now sharing the gifts that you've learned and the experience and the wisdom, and wanting the world to become more full of light and love. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Same here. Right back at you. You're doing the same thing, shining your light into the world, and I super appreciate you for that.
Thank you, Natasha. This is just the beginning. I'm sure we're going to be dancing all throughout life and having a lot of fun, impacting and empowering people for a very, very long time to come.
Okay.
All right, Natasha. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right.
Take care.
Bye.